fire at Tokyo's international airport. Local media reports show the aircraft travelling down the runway engulfed by fire.
Welcome back. Back with another banger. It's the React Files, where we react
to the creepiest, craziest, scariest TikToks. You shouldn't watch them.
I hope you're having a good night. And if you haven't already, please take a second just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Let's get straight to it. Crazy scenes. 367 people all evacuated. Thank goodness. The country's Coast Guard is looking at the possibility that one of its planes crashed into the aircraft. So, luckily no one got hurt. That's some scary, intense footage. Nobody would ever want to be in that situation. Shout outs to the pilot who landed the plane safely. He needs a raise. ASAP. A promotion or something.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Millie Chan. And I think this Jeffrey Epstein story is going to be what's going to kick off 2024. There are nearly 200 names linked to Jeffrey Epstein, and they're expected to go public as soon as Tuesday, after the deadline for objecting to the unsealing of name passes midnight on Monday. So this midnight, if it passes Tuesday morning, it's going to be a mess. So, you know, Jeffrey's girlfriend, I think it's Ghislaine Maxwell, she is in prison because she was like his co-conspirator. Allegedly, she was getting the girls to bring to him, right? And all these people whose names that we don't know are filed under Jane and John Doe. And that is what is about to be revealed to us. That is going to be crazy. Now, y'all know Prince Andrew's name was out there, right? For SA, an intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, the reason that, I don't know, maybe because his name is out here, because he settled out of court for reportedly $12 million. The prince has always strenuously denied any wrongdoing. Child. And as far as Maxwell is concerned, the defamation lawsuit set the stage for her a ST case, right? She was found guilty of 5 of the 6 charges and sentenced to 20 years in prison since December 2021. She's got a long way to go. Now, this is what we're not going to be ready for. Former President Bill Clinton allegedly has been identified, and his name, alias, allegedly, is Doe 36. And he is mentioned in more than 50 of the redacted filings, according to the court records. Now, I don't think it has anything to do with what they're saying as far as the ST goes, but he's in there, allegedly. So the court documents to be unsealed this week, they represent the 8th and likely final round of unsealing records from the case since the Miami Herald intervened for the access to the records in 2018. Like, that's a lot. 8? The morning after the first set of documents was unsealed by a federal appeals court in 2019, that's when Epstein had unalived himself in his jail cell in Manhattan. Because he just didn't want to be here to hear the people, I guess, that were about to be revealed, and just he knows what is being said. He just didn't even want to be here for that. Child, let's get into one more thing.
I do believe, though, when these documents are unsealed, all hell is going to break loose. There are going to be names on these documents that even I'm not going to be prepared to see, okay? If we thought 2023 was going to be something when it came to exposing people, baby, wait until 2024.
It's intense. Anxiety is at an all-time high, right? You know, my only question is, who leaked out the information? How they know the dough and the number if they're supposed to be unsealed today or this week, right? This is shocking stuff, y'all. Shocking. Whoa, now that's scary. You know? I could never imagine being in a situation like that. That's what you call straight pandemonium.
一発目到着中、津波一発目到達中、萩浦橋到達、萩浦橋到達中、一発目行きます。
Yo, that's exactly what I was talking about. That water right there, that did not look good. That did not look good at all.
What you're about to see is an entity never seen before.
Access granted.
This year they're going to pop the biggest financial bubble in all of history. And I think I know why. Let's start by talking to our good buddy, Fred. If you don't know, Fred is the official website from the Federal Reserve where they publish all kinds of official economic data. And Fred can tell you a lot of things. Like, for example, that US GDP, the total value of all the stuff that the US makes that's real, is going up slowly. And that US debt is skyrocketing. This is not news to anyone that has eyes. I mean, we've all seen the meme of Jerome Powell and his money printer by now. No matter how you slice it, money's just getting printed. They measure the total money in the system in different ways. They call them M1, M2, M3. M1 is a particularly cute chart. M2 includes more theoretical money that's just numbers in other screens. And so that spike in 2020 is not quite as intense because it has more factors involved. But no matter what you look at, the money supply is going to the moon. But you know what else is going to the moon? Derivatives exposure. Again, GDP is on this chart in green because it's not changing at all, really, while derivatives are skyrocketing. Derivative is the financial term for like placing bets that are just arbitrary that we make up ourselves, not like buying a stock and the stock's value goes up because the company's value goes up. Derivatives are people in the financial institutions or just you and me making bets based upon other things. Like I bet JP Morgan stock will be worth this much more on that day. I'll put $1,000 on it, which sounds legit because it's, people make bets, but it allows for huge amounts of leverage in the system. Because JP Morgan stock might go up by $1, but we might have bets that mean that changes our bets by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Although in the real world, we're talking millions and billions of dollars. It's an extremely complex topic, but just so you know what we're talking about here, the top 3 financial institutions in the United States are currently sitting on $50 trillion worth of derivative bets each. This chart is in millions of dollars. So 49 million is $49 trillion. And if you notice their assets column, Goldman Sachs is sitting on $47 trillion of derivatives, and they don't even have $500 billion of actual assets to back up all those bets. Because, when you make a bet, the other side is like, okay, but how do I know you're good for it? And you're like, well, check out my nice car. Right? Like the car is your asset that backs up the money that you're promising to pay. So yeah, they're sitting on 100-to-1 leverage right there. And a lot of economists have termed this the everything bubble for good reason. Because as all this money got pumped into the system, it skyrocketed the value of stocks, just all stocks, cryptocurrencies, you name it. But we've also seen huge rises in things like mortgage-backed securities. This is since 2010. These are the things that caused the 2008 housing collapse. Yeah, they're on the up. Oh, and so are student loan asset-backed securities. A security is like a slice of pie where you like put a whole bunch of debts or a whole bunch of things into a pool and you slice it up into little slices and then you sell pieces of it as investments. Like, a company gets sliced up and they sell shares of the company as stocks. Those are securities. So student loan asset-backed securities means when they take everyone's student loans, put them all that debt into a big pool, then they slice it up into little slices, and then they sell those slices as securities so you can make money off of collective student loan debt. Well, let's be real. You can't make money off of it because you don't know how to do this, but they make money off of it. I think this chart shows the phenomenon a little bit more clearly because it's a new thing. This is what we call financial innovation, folks. Oh, but they're also doing it to your car loans too, obviously, which are at record highs right now. But also consumer credit card debt is also at record highs. And you all already know this shit. We all know that we're fucked. But the point is that right now, everything's fucked all at once. And the stock market's insane pump over the last decade or two. And a huge amount of that value in the market is actually just derivative value of made up money of bets propping everything up with fake money that's not actually real, just making everything look like it's really valuable. Because in the financial world, if everyone's making side bets on Apple going up, that increases Apple's value because everyone's hyped. Apple stock goes up, everyone gets more hyped, they make more side bets that Apple stock will go up. You see what I'm saying there? Just if you hadn't looked closely and read yet, that line says 600 trillion. But some estimates put derivative exposure in the quadrillions, which is a stupid number. And I phrase it that way because we don't actually know the size of the market because over-the-counter derivatives are not regulated and they have very lenient reporting standards, thanks to a certain guy that we'll talk about in a second. And all of this has been carefully executed by a small set of financial executives and power people who love to act like they don't understand the basics of inflation and the economy, and they just could never have predicted the situation that we find ourselves in, but have convenient resumes of being total stooges for the Federal Reserve despite now working for the government, because those two organizations are not. Or the chair of the Fed, who is the master of, I just didn't know printing money would cause inflation. Because I'm sure Jerome Powell did not understand the most basic facts about how money works when George H.W. Bush named him Undersecretary of the Treasury in 1992. So to clarify, he went from the private sector working for investment banks to the public sector working for the government, back to the private sector working for the Carlyle Group during the Iraq War. There's no rabbit hole to be done on that whole can of shit. And now back to the public sector in charge of the Federal Reserve. Or is that the private sector? I'm not really clear on that one. And then, of course, the guy that's in charge of regulating the whole thing, Gary Gensler, the chair of the Securities Exchange Commission, which is like the financial regulatory institution of the United States. Well, he worked at Goldman Sachs for 18 years before taking the little revolving door into the government, where he's worked for Goldman Sachs ever since, to be clear. But back in the turn of the century, Gensler worked with Lawrence Summers to push for passing the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, which exempted over-the-counter derivatives from regulation. You know, these over-the-counter derivatives that are currently worth hundreds of trillions of dollars of unchecked Lord knows what kind of leverage. He also did a stellar job of specifically failing to regulate the crypto industry in very suspect looking ways, going after every legitimate actor except for the dude that broke everything, who totally didn't have weird ties to never mind. In case you didn't know, in the build up to 2008, the big boys knew what was coming because they were the ones inflating that bubble, and they popped it at a very specific time with very specific actions. And they timed it very specifically to bring in our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama, who promised to regulate the banks. And that did not go well. And today, the situation is 10 times worse, and the whole world is 10 times as fucked. And throughout all of history, there's only one thing that solves major economic crises on a global scale. But this time, a global war isn't enough to fix it, because it's not just a global economic crisis, it's a currency collapse. And all throughout history, a currency collapse leads to the rise of a new currency. And who have you heard talking an awful lot over the last year about introducing a new kind of currency that's going to make the world a much better place? And if we're being honest, it's looking more and more like in 2024, they're either going to let Trump win or do something really shady to make the election not happen. Because they're actually trying to run 80-whatever-year-old Biden against him. And what better time to pop the largest financial bubble in all of human history than right before you let Trump have office again? Just think about it.
That's a lot to think about. That's a lot to learn in a short period of time.
なんだっけなんだっけ最悪だね新年早々にあれで家大丈夫なんだよあれ富山県滑川市の映像ですがこの津波が今来ていることが確認できます今すぐに高台に避難をしてくださいそして富山県滑川市の映像ですがの平地だよな以外でもこういった津波が到達しているという可能性もありますのでね大げさでもなもう逃げればいいしかも家密集しすぎて逃げる場所なくねえでも通れんの
That is one alert I pray I never see on my TV. Yeah, as you see, that's how it looks. So, tsunami warning in Japan. With the public looking on, watching TV. Them waves were hitting, man. I'm so happy that tsunami didn't hit.
A tranquil New Year's Day shattered along Japan's west coast. Millions gripped with fear as a series of 20 earthquakes struck. The biggest, magnitude 7.6 tremor felt in the capital, Tokyo, more than 300 kilometres away. The force of the earthquake collapsed homes and buildings. In shopping centres, there was immediate panic, while some raced for the exit, others cowered in fear. In a local newsroom, a quick-thinking cameraman began filming as the quake hit. The tremor leaving roads buckled, fires destroying homes and other buildings. Even more frightening, the quake triggered a major tsunami warning. Residents in coastal areas told to evacuate immediately. The first tsunami waves, some more than a metre high, did reach the coast, but authorities had warned of waves as high as 5 metres. Japanese authorities say no irregularities have been reported from nuclear power plants in the region. From Japan's Prime Minister, an ominous warning.
And I call on the people in the disaster-hit areas to remain on alert for more earthquakes to come.
The country on edge over what could happen next.
And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. And if you haven't already, please take a second just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, just to make sure the algorithm know what's up. So what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.